If you have people that truly love you, there is going to be people that truly hate you. You can't have both. The problem is because the small factions of the extreme on either side are the loudest, you do a social post, it has 30,000 likes, but there's 10 angry comments. We wanted to find a way, how do you stop making people afraid of this small fraction of people? So we saw these guys that were posting that liquid death is literally the worst water ever. We reached out and said, hey, we will fly you to LA.
Wow.
Do a blind taste test of 10 waters. If you can successfully pick liquid death as the worst water, we'll give you $2,500.
Wow.
But if you guess wrong, we get to tase you.
Oh. All right. I've been listening to you on podcasts. Don't like doing the same kind of thing. So we're just going to talk about the moon landing. But you better be up to speed on the moon landing because I'm going deep. I'm going deep. That's the new name of the podcast. I'm going deep. People might think that it's porn.
Get more clicks.
Get more clicks. I'm going deep with Mike Cessario from Liquid Death, which here is here. Right there, Liquid Death, famously turned it into $1 billion brand. And I wanted to talk to you about branding, but not in brands. How about that for fun? But like politics, social media, the world. You came at it by working with brands like Toyota, Old Smoky Moonshine, which I'm familiar with.
That's a funny one to dig up.
Well, I dug up the fun ones.
Oh, yeah.
I'll get to the good ones, don't worry. Old Smoky, because I liked it. Guys used to send me moonshine. I didn't know you back then, but I still got the moonshine. Sonic, Drive-In, Naked Juice, etc., as well as some lesser-known brands like Budweiser, Coca-Cola, Twitter, AT&T, Samsung, etc. I'm going to start easy and more metaphysical. Ideas are worth nothing. Go.
I think the easiest way to describe it is, and I hear this all the time, everyone's like, oh, I had that idea before them. That was my idea, but you didn't make it. And I think that's really the difference is people who actually have the motivation to go figure out how to make an idea. We all have great ideas. Like I could say tomorrow, it's my idea to go to Mars. But Elon's the one actually figuring out how you do it.
Actualization.
Actualization.
I should have done this. I should have done that when I did that because that's you saying that ideas are worth nothing. So you're into not ideas, but the actualization, as I can think what that comes up with.
Sure, yeah, the execution.
Who executes the best right now? Who's our good executor?
Well, it depends on what industry, but I would say in entertainment, for example, I really love what Eric Andre has been doing.
Right.
I think like having a completely ridiculous premise where every little detail is right and he's doing something very different. I think that's cool. Funny guy. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a weird thing with Eric Andre because he looks and sounds exactly like a guy named Derek Beckles, who was a super funny guy too, who did super funny stuff. I think they worked on a show together.
Derek, nice to meet you for the first time.
Thank you. God, this is an honor. Truly.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
We thought we'd come out tonight and just take that bar and go, snap.
Except Derek didn't become famous and Eric Andre became famous. And so you're like, it's a sort of sad, happy thing in comedy. But they're literally they have the exact same voice.
Yeah. I mean, I think too, I like when there's someone like Eric Andre or someone that no one expected to be really successful at what they're doing because it's so ridiculous and then they figure out a way to actually make it even more successful than, any of the other things that have way more investment, way more.
Yeah.
Or like, I dig that level of execution.
Okay. So Apple.
I think Apple's just become a different thing, but yes.
They executed.
They executed, absolutely. And I think Steve Jobs was a big part of that,
the execution.
Like maniacal brand execution. I remember friends of mine that worked for Chiat Day Media Arts Lab, when Steve Jobs was still there, they presented creative to him like every Monday morning. He was still that involved in all the marketing, the CEO of the company every week was getting feedback on the marketing. And I think that's why they were so good at building that brand. Now I feel they're so mass that it's just they're not the challenger brand anymore, right? So it's just like a different strategy they have now.
Yeah, it's supply chain.
Yeah.
Whereas before, there were other things.
Yeah.
They just executed them better.
Right.
And came along and ate Blackberry's lunch, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Well, okay. What about, you mentioned Elon. What about Tesla? What about SpaceX? What about all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, and I think what Elon does really well is he's got a very complicated to understand product business for most people. But it seems like he also understands American culture enough where the most technologically sophisticated car ever built in the Tesla, he makes the speed mode something off the movie Spaceballs, ludicrous mode. So this idea of taking something that is, funny or unexpected, it's a part of culture, and almost humanizing something that's not very human, I think is something that he does really well. And that's why I think Tesla is such a strong brand, because it's not only technology. Like, there is culture in all these different little ways infused into it.
That little soundbite that you just did threatens to derail the whole interview, because I have a perfect segue of politicians and or politics as brands and narrative. But then I was thinking, as you said that, the reason why nobody would do that in their car, like Ford or whatever, is because you can just picture the lawsuits. You can even picture the lawyer saying, and did you or did you not? Because to me, a bad lawyer is always from the South, And did you or did you not, Mr. Musk, put a feature on your car called ludicrous mode from the movie Spaceballs?
Ludicrous speed! Go!
And boom,
Yeah.
The defense rests your honor. Because in this day and age, especially in this country, if you do anything like that, that's a bit zany, people are just like, oh, that's an opportunity to sue. And lawsuits and advertisers have become the modern day censors.
Right.
Because if the advertisers don't like what you're saying, they just say, well, we're gonna hold for a little bit. There goes the show. And lawyers obviously try to sue. They just want fees. So they just sue everybody for everything. Probably going to get sued for this show right now. But let's talk about both those things. Politicians and politics as brand. Advice we used to say, every, company or person or whatever has to think of themselves as a brand, right? And if you don't control your own narrative, then someone else is going to control it for you, and it's generally going to be negative. So do you want to control your narrative or not? Now, you're Nestle, so you don't make content. We'll make the content, and that'll tell the narrative, right? And that was groundbreaking at the time. But that's pretty much become what people realize now. So for politics, for example, when Obama got elected, I remember going and talking to a lot of pundits who were saying there might not be ever a Republican president again because of millennials and the demographics and everything. And so we went to, after Obama's first election, when they won the executive, the House and the Senate, Frank Luntz, who's a pollster, Republican pollster, who had thrown this dinner for whoever was left over, those sort of leading lights of the Republican Party. And they said, what the are we going to do, right? Like, we're done, we're over, we're toast.
And you had significant people in that room. You had ranking members of committees. You had 3 or 4 members of the leadership from both the House and the Senate. I mean, you had people like Newt Gingrich, who were the thinkers and philosophers of the party. It was all about a lost movement trying to figure out how to get back up on his feet.
What's the new strategy?
Is there a new, not even what's the new strategy?
Is there a new strategy?
Is there a new strategy, or are we done?
They've gerrymandered it. If you look now, it's blue cities, red counties. And so they gerrymandered every county. And, they started building their bench, building their stars, et cetera, who, name recognition, et cetera. They built their brand, and they did it successfully. I think the Democratic Party is kind of in the same boat. They're rudderless. They don't have a brand. They don't have a narrative. They don't have any stars. So using your genius marketing lens, what does the Democratic Party do now?
I think there's a great parallel to at least how we think about, brands like products in terms of how do you talk to people the way they actually talk to each other. Like I think every great ad, it's like a great headline in an ad doesn't sound like a corporate boardroom talking to you. It sounds like a person talking to you. And that's what like, hey, how do you make marketing better? And Liquid Death, same thing. It's like, it's a joke that doesn't feel like it's coming from a corporate boardroom. It feels like, oh, whoever made this ad, created this thing, seems like someone I might actually want to have a beer with. Versus like so much corporate marketing is just this soulless, don't piss off even one person because we don't want to have one angry person. So basically it's like,
Don't Eric Andre it.
you don't Eric Andre it. I think that happens in politics now too, where it's like, especially I think on the Democratic side, I mean, after the last several years of just, people being canceled over any possible thing, it's like everyone's on these eggshells. Don't piss off one person. But you can either have everybody just basically not give a about you, but if you have people that truly love you, there is going to be people that truly hate you. You can't have both.
Yeah.
I think Rick Rubin and him saying, great work divides the audience.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that Trump was really good at. Like he was the first politician that started saying this and that on national television. That's how people actually talk to each other. So now all of a sudden it's like, oh, he doesn't sound corporate. I trust him, right? And it has nothing to do with what you know about him. It's just his delivery feels like something that's not the corporate safe speak that I think no one trusts anymore, whether it's from a brand or whether it's from a politician.
So what did they do wrong?
I just think and I think it's the same thing that marketers get wrong. You have to understand how the masses are actually going to react to something. People who make great ads, they don't think, oh, this is a piece of shit that's not going to do anything. They think, oh no, this ad of people running on the beach, having a great time, that's going to really make everybody feel like they're having a great time and happy and run out and buy our product.
And I won't get fired.
Yeah, and I won't get fired. Right.
Yeah.
But people who actually see that ad, one, they just tune it out, has no impact on them. I think that's what it is not understanding what actually resonates with people, what's actually going to stop somebody, make them care, talk about it.
Well, let's talk about that because authenticity is the buzzword.
Right.
And anytime they say authenticity, it automatically isn't.
Right.
So in my brain, I have some answers. But like, who's authentic in the Democratic Party? Who's authentic in the Republican Party as a brand? And who do you think goes forward from here as their authentic sort of, I guess, touchstones?
I think there is a distinction between just because you are authentic does not necessarily mean you're going to have widespread appeal. Either.
Right, yeah.
But, someone like Gavin Newsom is reasonably authentic, I think. Like he's one of the first politicians I saw where, like one thing in marketing that we always talk about is ownable language. Like how do you create a word that's sticky, that's memorable, that people want to use for marketing? Trump was really good at that. Like he always came up with these little names that he would call his enemies and they were sticky and kind of clever. Like that's marketing. Mm. And I think when he was out there using these things, I never saw anybody on the left kind of playing that same game. And I remember Gavin Newsom made some joke about him being Pennywise the clown or something like that. And I remember reading that saying, oh, finally there's someone who's hitting back with a somewhat elevated level of cleverness or how you might actually make fun of somebody. Where everybody else I felt like was so afraid to just...
Right. And why do you think that there's so much perceived backlash and or, vitriol against him?
Because I think the majority of America does not like California. And you could look at a million reasons why that is, whether it's they just truly don't like it or there's some jealousy of it seems like everybody there is beautiful and wealthy and that place, whatever it might be, right? So I think that's the problem is what he represents to the rest of the country is just something that they're so not for.
There's definitely something to be said about Californian modernity. I mean, Reagan, was the sort of North Star of the Republican Party until Trump was from here, famously, ran from here, governor. Now, what's interesting is the governor. There we go. There's all kinds of weird tie-ins to the Republican Party. What I find weird, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, about San Francisco, which is now, it doesn't matter what's true, what's not true, it is now a failed city. And I'm like, I went there recently, and I was like, when did the bomb drop? Not only are there no homeless people, there's no people. In the whole failed city, and everybody's on fentanyl and everyone's frozen. The comments are going to go bonkers because but like, there's no people because everyone moved to the suburbs and whatever. But like, the whole thing of San Francisco's failed. It's lovely. It's clean. It's beautiful. There's great restaurants. It's a great city. My whole thing is there's not a lot of people in the city. That's my criticism. Yeah. LA, I get so many questions. How are you? Are you okay, buddy? You okay? Well, sorry, what? The riots. And then I'm like, they happen downtown, and nobody just, LA. You can drive for 5 hours in any directions to be. So I'm like, that's not really a thing. But to them, it's become the Super Bowl commercial. That's the one that everybody remembers. That's the one that everybody resonates. That's Bud for the Green Bay Packers. I mean, that is just the ads work. Good. So you brought up Newsom. There's a name. There's a brand that's coming out. Been mentioned, can't be governor anymore, so mentioned for maybe a presidential run. AOC, I mean, she is definitely number 2, if not number 1. She would be a civil war if she got elected. But as a brand, and especially as a challenger brand, somebody told me once, the American presidency is name recognition. I mean, if it's name recognition, she's got it. So that's one that I find interesting.
I guess I feel like, again, like tying it back to marketing and brand, so much successful marketing is because it's playing off of a certain cultural tension that is happening in the moment. Ben and Jerry's, for example, they were playing off of the Reagan era industrialization of everything. They were just these hippies, right? And that catapulted them because it was kind of at odds with like what people were having tensions around. It's like all of a sudden, oh, look, it's these hippies have an ice cream brand and it doesn't feel industrial. It feels like it's made in their house, and that was successful at that particular time. And I feel like we're in a particular cultural tension of extremism on both sides. I feel like everybody, 80% of the people are kind of in this middle zone where they're tired of the yelling and screaming on either side. And I would imagine if you polled most people would fall in the camp of like morally liberal and fiscally conservative.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's maybe what the Democratic Party needs for like to actually win, is someone that feels like they really are more towards the middle where everybody is, and not someone else that's just making it seem like you should be living on edge every minute of every day because the world's about to completely go up in flames and it's going to...
Yeah, fear sells.
Fear, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so to go back to it, okay, what do you see going forward? The Democratic message, which you just gave what they should do, versus the Republican message, A, and B, who are their superstars? Who would you get behind as a branding genius to say, hey, this is what you should do?
I feel like both sides are trying to probably have someone or something that comes more towards the middle.
Yeah.
I think everybody's been a little bit burned by just like the heat on either side. And I think people are all trying to come a little bit more to sanity, I think, where things maybe used to be prior to like, I don't remember when there was this much hate on either side. It seemed like
what you're explaining was the Nixonian, the silent majority, and he was like the silent majority wants exactly what you said, which he positioned himself as. I think it's interesting. The pitch for this show is we need a silent majority, and I'm like, I'm neither right nor I'm left, but I'm centrist, and I believe that.
Yeah.
Both sides should talk to each other. And it's so funny because in this thing, you know, you're too right for the left and you're too left for the right. So like, who's this lefty telling us what we, and then everyone else is like, oh my God, you know, Shane's been red pilled. He went on Rogan and now, you know, and you're like, okay, you know, you're not even allowed to talk.
Right.
Or sorry, interview in my case. I remember we took Obama to prison.
How y'all doing?
How you doing, sir?
All right.
He was the first sitting president ever to go to prison because he wanted to do prison reform, and we helped get 2 bipartisan bills passed about mostly nonviolent drug. 3 strikes you're out. Like dudes had pot, you know, and then were in jail for life, kind of thing. As a sort of thank you, he let us shoot the last 6 months of his presidency.
Hey.
How are you?
How you doing? Good to see you.
Good to see you. And he called Trump, and he called a lot of the things that were going to happen, but he just kept talking about like the Republicans and the Tea Party, and like, you know, and how they can't get anything done, and so if you do that in a documentary, you have to go talk to those people,
Right.
right? So instead of it being kind of a puff piece, we're like, okay, well, we'll just go talk. And so I went to talk to John Boehner, who was the Speaker of the House, his opponent, who got fired. He's a conservative, like dyed-in-the-wool conservative guy. Conservative, right-wing conservative, like right of conservative, not centrist.
Yeah.
And he got kicked out by the Tea Party because he met Obama. This is the Speaker of the House. It's his job to meet Obama.
Right.
He got fired for meeting him.
I was a Tea Party before there was a Tea Party. And then all of a sudden I was the establishment. It's pushed or pulled Americans to the right, pushed and pulled to the left. All of a sudden constituents are going way left or going way right, making it almost impossible to get anything done.
And that's when we will not have one Republican vote for any Democratic bill. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
So he saw all of that happening. So to go back to your point of no votes for Democratic bills, you can't even talk to the other side. And like we've gotten so polarized that even if I do something, oh my God, if you interview someone from the right, that's just it. You're done. You're platforming him. Even if you interview somebody from the left right after, I know. So here's a bigger question. We know if we can solve it through branding, maybe messaging, is how do you fix that? Because it's broken and you're yearning for centrist logical sanity. I mean, most countries have like, you know, a center right and a center left, and it goes in between the two, right? We have a 2-party system, and that's another problem. It's a republic that's a 2-party system, so they're always both in power.
Right.
But how do we get back to sanity and centrism, and people can pick a party at will, et cetera, et cetera?
It's a good question. I know in a much smaller level, the way that we think about that on social, for example. A brand like Liquid Death is very polarizing. Social in general right now is so polarizing.
Sorry, why polarizing?
Because anything that is, I think, truly different, there are going to be people who don't understand it. And when people don't understand it or get it right away, they just turn to this is the dumbest thing ever.
Right.
I think it was Reid Hoffman, from the founder of LinkedIn, said any truly innovative idea is almost laughable at first. Mm-hmm. It's true. It's like people, I remember when I lived in San Francisco, and it was right when Uber was starting, and people were like, Silicon Valley is so out of touch. Who's going to drive a drunk, vomiting person around in the back of their car like a taxi driver? Like, people thought it was like a ridiculous, stupid premise. Ended up being like one of the biggest, advancements ever. So you just naturally get people who don't understand something right away. Their natural response is to kind of hate it and go against it and resist it. Mm-hmm. So from the earliest days of Liquid Death, we have people be, canned water, there's no innovation here. Why would anybody give this company money? Liquid Death is literally the worst water I ever tasted. And what we did, and I think that is a microcosm of what's happening everywhere else, is it's the fear. Everyone's like afraid of someone being angry or not liking them on the internet. And the problem is because the small factions of the extreme on either side are the loudest, you do a social post, and I have to remind my team of this, like, you know, or had in the past. You have a social post, we post some funny piece of content. It has 30,000 likes, but there's 10 angry comments. But there's only maybe 150 total comments. So 10 comments out of 150 seems like, oh, a lot of people are angry. But I'm like, but 30,000 liked it. I'll take 30,000 to 10 ratio. And to your point, the silent majority, most of us on social media, we're like passive observers of the circus.
Yeah.
Maybe our interaction is clicking a like on something that we think is funny or interesting, but we're not there leaving comments about, why would you do this? You know, it's this small level. So we wanted to find a way, how do you stop making people afraid of this small fraction of people? So then we said, let's take all the hate comments that we get, and we made an album out of it.
So, yeah.
Like reading internet hate comments? Then you're going to love hearing them.
And we, with the campaign, we started doing little liquid death ads where it's a can, and we would pull the actual hate comment as the headline on the ad. It's like, this is the worst thing ever. I will never buy this. You know, these Satan worshipers, you know, whatever. And then it's like, people love us on the internet.
Yeah.
And that was like our best performing content. And it like galvanized people, like more comments than we've ever had. This is amazing. I'm only going to buy this. Like our little hashtag that we used for the campaign was proudly not for everyone. And I think it just reminding people that like, you have to be okay with pissing some people off, and it's probably not going to be the end of the world.
Yeah.
If you do. And hopefully that's enough to get people just out of the fear of not doing anything.
Hi, it's Shane Smith. Now, before we get back to it, I wanted to let you know about my new Substack. I'm shanesmith.substack.com. Now, I'm going to be posting a lot of new content there, from extended versions of this show to behind-the-scenes stories from my adventures all over the world with Vice. Now, the best part, it's free if you sign up now. So go to shanesmith.substack.com and enter your email. That's it, shanesmith.substack.com. Or click the link below, and now on with the show, which rhymes with Bazango. I have a lot to say about that, but two quick things. One is, when this podcast started, for example, the amount of, comments and the amount of unfollowing now, and you're like, well, then why did you comment on every episode? Right. And you can only unfollow once, I think. And also, you're exactly right. Like we would get sort of millions of video views, and I mean, that's the thing about democracy of the internet. Like you can just see the metrics. Like it's not like TV where you just Yeah. And so people are watching, and then but oh my God, what Shane done, and the red pills and things, and oh my Lord, unfollowing. And it's funny, we should have used that as our marketing campaign, because I remember when I'd been in North Korea a few times, and we did this thing where we sent Dennis Rodman and the Harlem Globetrotters to play the North Korean team, and they played, and then Kim Jong-un came to the game and then brought everyone back to his house. We had just done the series for HBO, and it was the last thing we did, and so we were really proud of the series. It was really, and then every single newspaper, news, online, everything was like, Vice, those are stunt journalists, bullshit. Dennis Rodman.
America has just witnessed a truly strange encounter. Who became the first American to meet with the new leader of North Korea?
Diplomatic stunner of the year so far.
I remember sitting there in the bath. I had just had a hernia surgery, and I was laughing. I remember I couldn't laugh in the bath, but I was laughing because I'm like, well, it's over. I was kind of like the laughter of the damned. Like, you're like, it was so bad. Yeah. And then we launched to a 5, which is just unheard of, you know, on HBO. Like, it was just like, they expected like a 0.5 if we were lucky, launched to because everyone had read it and said, oh, we'll tune into the show. And that's when you realize exactly what you're talking about. And I guess that comes down to there's no such thing as bad advertising or bad, what is it, bad?
Yeah. Negative press or whatever.
Negative press. Because everybody wanted to watch the show because what did they actually do? And it turned out, obviously, to be good.
Yeah.
So anyway.
And I think, too, like, what we also realized when we did some other little experiments is you realize that the people leaving these comments, most of the time, they don't actually even mean it.
Yeah.
They're just doing it because, like, they're bored and they want to try to get some attention. So we saw these guys that were posting, they said, liquid death is literally the worst water ever.
Right.
And I'm like, do you really think they even tried it? So we reached out and said, hey, we will fly you to LA.
Wow.
Do a blind taste test of 10 waters. If you can successfully pick liquid death as the worst water, we'll give you $2,500. But if you guess wrong, we get to tase you. So we flew these 2 guys out, you know, mom's basement kind of guys. And they came out and, like, of course, they both got tased.
Oh, okay. All right.
But then they were kind of endearing where they were like, I was wrong. I would drink y'all's water now. You know, like, they didn't really mean anything. Sure. Like, they didn't really, they were just like trying to make noise because they just want someone to pay attention.
The problem is now everyone's going to say that because now they want to get flown to LA and have a fun thing, become famous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very smart. Now, so okay, what brands are doing it right, in your opinion, and what brands are doing it wrong now?
I mean, they're kind of they've been doing it right for a long time, but I think Red Bull, you know, Red Bull is whatever, $12 billion sales brand. I mean, they're massive. And they didn't get that way because they're running tons of big, expensive television commercials. It's like they found this way to blur the lines between entertainment and beverage. Their
Sports.
And sport, yeah. Their marketing is actual entertainment. Their marketing you would pay to watch because it's actually entertaining. It doesn't feel like a commercial. And I think they've been able to stay really true to that for a really long time with tons of other people all trying to kind of copy and do the same thing. And I think they've done really well. Another, what I think, one of the most underrated brands of all time is Trader Joe's.
Okay.
People are fanatic about Trader Joe's. Like, even during COVID, I remember the line outside Trader Joe's was like around the block because people still wanted their Trader Joe's. They found this way to make a brand that means something to people. It's like, okay, if it's a Trader Joe's thing, it kind of has a little bit of like a quirky vibe. It's probably better ingredients, and it's a really good value price. And as long as they stick to those 3 things, they can kind of make anything. And like, they're the only store brand. Like, you could probably put Trader Joe's products in another grocery store and they would probably outsell other stuff, right? But
my daughter's in a Trader Joe's fan club at her high school. And I was going to just ask because I don't know, but I get a lot of stuff from Trader Joe's. But is 2-Buck Chuck, is that?
Trader Joe's, yeah.
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah.
It's probably the #1 selling wine in the world.
Probably, yeah.
I haven't even got to the questions. What do you think about that? I found this interesting. It doesn't actually go with anything we've been saying. I'm sort of a non sequitur. Before the fantastic success of liquid death, which I believe is so successful that's why I want to talk to you about everything. But it's not your first beverage. Western Grace, Brandy. Now, Brandy, I like a brandy. I like a good brandy. And I like that you were saying, like, yeah, nobody, I mean, you look for a sort of a segment and then say, well, what, you know, who's doing it wrong or not doing it or whatever. And brandy, it just isn't done. When I grew up, brandy was the thing. Like, brandy was like, you know, Napoleon.
Because Canada, right? Yeah, like people out.
Well, yeah, and I just after dinner, you'd have a brandy. There was a big snobby thing, cognac. You know, brandy and cognacs were Napoleon brandy and, you know, VSOP.
Yeah.
And then all the ratings and it fell off. I mean, here, I guess that's more cognac-y, but like Hennessy became like a thing, like in Philadelphia, for example. But yeah, brandy sort of fell off, and so you were going to resurrect brandy. What the hell happened?
So yeah, we started the brand, or had the idea for the brand in like 2010. I was living in San Francisco, and yeah, kind of
Failed city.
Failed cities. So then
Sorry, San Francisco because of marketing?
Yeah, I was working for a marketing agency there.
And you're from Philadelphia.
Yep.
You like the Eagles.
Yep.
You like cheesesteaks, skateboarding, and boxed wine. No, I needed a third one.
Yeah.
I don't know. What's the third one you like from Philadelphia?
Hers chips.
Okay, there you go. All right. So anyway, so you're in San Francisco working.
Yeah, working for a marketing agency that is not doing anything very creative. And I just was like kind of hating my everyday life. So then that's when I had the idea of, well, if I have to keep waiting for clients to buy good work that don't want to buy good work, then I just need to become the client and create my own product that I can market the way I think it should be marketed. So then when it came to coming up with a product, I looked for, where's some white space? Where's like a stale category that I could be the one cool brand in it? And I wanted to do something in spirits because I was very much into different kinds of bourbons and tequilas, and I was just kind of plugged into that world. So then I looked for spirits brand or spirits categories that were boring, that with no interesting brands, and Brandy was like kind of the one I could find. Yeah, most people, the only brandy they know is Hennessy, which is cognac, right? Which is a type of brandy, which was almost like if the only thing people knew about wine, that the only wine that exists is like Merlot, that's wine. Well, there is more. And I learned more about it. It tasted very similar to bourbon, just a little bit sweeter. I even did some blind taste tests at my house with people, and the average person, they couldn't tell what was bourbon and what was brandy.
It's very boozy.
It's boozy, yeah. So then I came up with this idea, well, what if we made an Americana brandy? Because they were making it at different places in the US, but everyone was still trying to copy the French luxury of cognac. Yeah. That's like all people knew. So we made this Western Grace that kind of felt more like a bourbon brand. And we found this distillery up in Ukiah, California, like a couple hours north of San Francisco. And these guys had been making some of the best brandy in the world for like 20 years. Yeah.
It's a great idea. Like, I remember you were talking about like alcohol is the most regular. You used to have stuff from like Prohibition.
Yeah, every state is totally different. Like the way you can't really market it on social media, at least you couldn't at the time because, the age, like you can't market to anyone under 21. Every state is different laws. So then I found two partners that wanted to do it with me that were involved in the creation of Hendrick's Gin and Sailor Jerry Rum, both Philadelphia created companies.
Yeah.
And, we kind of figured out how to at least stand up the business where we had, a warehouse in Philly that had a bunch of cases of this brandy that we had the guys up in California make. And then we just kind of realized, well, there was going to be no money for marketing. Really the way you had to build that is like bar by bar. You get bartenders to like want to push it. You do little tastings.
Booze is marketing.
Yeah, booze is marketing. And we weren't going to actually be able to do any meaningful marketing for it, which was kind of my strength. And it just ended up being that it was always 2 against 1 in every decision. And I didn't know much about starting a company then, where as soon as I found 2 people, I'm like, oh, these guys are from these big famous brands. Like, I'm so lucky to get them. Yeah, we'll all have equal share. Even though it was my idea, we'll all have equal share. And then that just meant that I could be outvoted on anything.
Yeah. Well, ideas are worth nothing.
Right. So then eventually it was just like, hey, look, we were butting heads enough. I'm like, hey, you guys take this from here. There's not going to be a lot of marketing to do for a while anyway. I'll go back to my sort of ad agency career of stuff and figure out my next thing. But it really helped me learn a lot about what not to do, getting at least a small taste of trying to do that.
My only story with Brandy is I used to go to a private casino in London, which was very fancy. It was where all the sort of traditional horse and hound sort of private clubs are that you join, and it's a big thing to join. You pay lots of money to stay there. Gentlemen would always, have places there and whatever. And it was a casino that was sort of high stakes, very proper, very like incredibly well done. I want to say 10 St. James, I believe it was called. It was on St. James, which a lot of clubs were on. And I remember going there and getting in with some Russians, as you do, and they were winning, and they were buying brandy, drinking with me. And the brandy was not Napoleon brandy. It was Napoleon's brandy from his case.
Wow.
From his private reserve. And so I think it was like 175,000 pounds a bottle, which at the time was like $2 to the pound. And that was brandy. And you were like, wow, that's some expensive booze. Because to me, it just tasted like booze. Right. A very boozy drink. But it's interesting to sort of pick it as a thing and say, well, brandy is the way to go. And I had a buddy in college who figured out that all booze is marketing, went after vodka, which is just all marketing, and got icebergs from Newfoundland, which are free, and did iceberg vodka because it's pre-industrial age water that makes the vodka. Genius.
And famously, the what's the guy's name? The guy who created Grey Goose vodka. He was from Connecticut, marketing guy, realized at that time Absolute vodka was the most premium vodka.
They used to be our client.
Oh, nice.
Swedish government.
Oh, yeah, it is Swedish brand.
And the government. It's not the people own it.
It's the government.
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know that. But yeah, at a time, they were the most premium vodka. And that was even seen as ridiculous because in the rest of the world, vodka was like there was no taste. It was purely for getting up.
Yeah.
And it was for, it was like what the homeless drank to people.
Yeah.
And then there was Absolute that was like premium vodka. And then this guy came along and said, I think I'm going to make even more premium than Absolute. And they thought he was kind of nuts.
Yeah.
But he was smart enough about American culture to know Americans perceive anything from France as better. Mm-hmm. So he purposely distilled it in France so he could put the French flag and product of France on the bottle. Yeah. And then there's the story of Grey Goose just becoming like, the biggest brand ever.
They actually put it in like cognac cases or champagne cases or something, the wood, to give it a bit of which is why I hate French vodka. All of them. I hate them all because they do this little thing like we're going to put them in champagne or cognac or whatever, barrels. And the one that wins every year is Smirnoff, which is distilled 5 times. It's that Smirnoff used to be like $1.99 a jug.
Yeah.
Wins all the taste tests for vodka.
Right.
It's all about
the brand, yeah.
All right. Brands. Who are the best marketing brands? I know I asked you this before, but I'm going to keep asking until I get the answers I want. Like, who are the geniuses? I mean, Apple has a challenger brand to IBM. 1984. There was a lot of 1984, because it was the time. And so 1984 is everywhere. And then that just catapulted them. Like, who's doing that kind of stuff now?
I feel like it's less a specific brand, and it's almost you can trace them more back to specific agencies that are creating campaigns in time.
Yeah.
It's like not every brand is doing great stuff all the time, but then all of a sudden you see this great, amazing creative campaign. Nike, right. And you
that fell off.
Yeah, you trace it
Wyden.
Yeah, but some of the stuff Wyden did for them back in the day was
the Jordan stuff was incredible.
The Jordan stuff was amazing.
But who's now? Who's today? I don't. It can be the agency, it can be brand, it can be anybody. I used to go to see. So Lions is happening right now, or it just ended. Lions being the
advertising awards.
Advertising marketing. And when I was a kid, they used to make a movie of the best. Like it would do bronze, silver, gold, Palme d'Or, or whatever. And I used to go see that movie every year. I loved it. And the commercials were amazing, and they'd be from France and Australia, and they'd be funny, and they'd be weird, and they'd be, crying. And I remember I won a Lion, and I was giving a speech, and I told that story. And I don't see this sort of level of artistry. And by the way, this is going to be a jumping board into something serious, but I don't see this level of artistry. It might be because I'm a curmudgeon, and it might be because it doesn't have, like TV was advertising, and TV is sort of going the way of the dodo, and advertisers become a different thing altogether. Like you were saying, it's social media. It's not
right.
It's not a 30-second spot or a 2-minute spot or whatever the spots are. But who's doing it right?
That's the thing. Like and maybe that's part of what you're saying is I almost can't think of something easily that I've seen recently that I'm like, oh my God, that is so good.
Yeah.
It's most of what I see is like, it's almost like it's getting worse.
Right.
There was that campaign, it won all the Cannes stuff last year where it was the CeraVe lotion where they had Michael Cera.
I'm Michael Cera, and I'm pleased to announce that this is my cream. CeraVe.
That was interesting, right?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, our product's called Cera. People probably don't know how to say it, but people know Michael Cera. So let's do something funny with Michael Cera.
That's
right?
funny. And he's beloved.
And he's beloved, right. But yeah, I mean, outside of things like that, I mean, I thought that Wyden was doing some interesting stuff for Kentucky Fried Chicken. They brought the Colonel, and there was all these different celebrities that were being the Colonel. They did this ridiculous thing where they made a paperback romance novel that was an actual book about chicken with like the Colonel on the front looking all studly. Like, at least there was things where it's like, oh, there's the artistry, as you said, like they're really trying to entertain people in these unexpected kind of ways in service of a brand. Now you could argue, was Kentucky Fried Chicken's problem artistry? Maybe not, that they had to solve, but.
What about huge, so I talked about North Korea, we talked about things going wrong, we talked about people hating it, but there is a level of hate that could be bad. Bud Light with the trans thing.
Like Bud Light.
Tonight, Bud Light's controversy is still brewing.
Suddenly everything, even beer cans, are promoting transgenderism.
For a company to hire a trans person and then not publicly stand by them is worse, in my opinion, than not hiring a trans person at all.
Well, I think, like you said, the interesting thing there is when brands try to play it so safe and not have a definitive voice, it's very easy for someone else to define the voice.
Right.
It's like, to most people, what is Bud Light? They probably like, there's nothing definitive. It's just like, hey, it's a beer.
But yet they sponsor everything.
Everything. But they have no voice. Like, what is it? Like, at least when they were doing those, if you remember like the Dilly Dilly campaign where it was like the Knights and stuff, like, at least they were starting to kind of get to like, oh, there's something people instantly associate with the brand.
Did they do the was that one?
That was Budweiser, not Bud Light, but that was Budweiser. But yeah, but now it's like, okay, well, what they're trying to say is their campaign message they use now is easy to drink, easy to enjoy. So it's like, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. So then the minute there's like an influencer who gets enough views around your brand, that can all of a sudden become your brand because you haven't done enough to actually define it. Whereas something like Nike, they've done a lot of work. Like, people know what Nike is. Like, it's victory and like determination and all of that. It'd be really hard for one influencer to completely redefine Nike by what they say.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I was going to say, like, they don't have a Jordan anymore. But the last thing I saw that was really good, I don't even know if it was Nike, I'm just going to say it was in the Olympics. There was one of the women, I don't know if it was I think it was the 4x100 women's race. And she started out behind some, like, really tall, I won't say Dutch woman, I don't know. And she just motored, and the camera angle was such that it looked like they were going to come in third, and she kind of does this, checks out that she's in front, and then sort of gives it a thing, and then she like does this stylized, when you go across the line or whatever, you do this kind of thing, and she does this sort of like arm chop thing where she knows she's going to come in first, but it's so fast, like you just see her check it, she goes like this, like it's like a karate chop, and she gets across the line, she wins by a length. But you and I was like, if that's Nike, it's genius, because I'm like, I want to win, But yeah, so that's social media. That's not a commercial. That was just something on social media that was just going, and it was like her face was so like, I got this, and it became like a meme. So I guess to me, those are the successful ones. Things that become memes. They become part of the social fabric. That's why, like, the Was Up or the Dilly, like they become part of like what we do or we say. I think those are the ones that are probably the most successful.
I think the thing they also take into account with that is the size of the speaker that's coming out of. Like, there's a reason that even the shittiest music and pop songs can become memes because it's pumped into every single eyeball that people will just take kind of anything. Whereas if you took that same Nike ad, but it was this small brand with 20,000 followers, would it still be shared 10 million times and become a meme? Probably not. But when Nike is pushing something out to everybody, it's there to take off easier. So they don't have to necessarily be as, let's just say, newsworthy as maybe a small brand that you don't have the megaphone. You need that the 500 people see it, share it with their friends, and then those people share it in the virality nature.
Yeah.
Where you do see that, like, now on social with the Justin Biebers, the folks who never had a label, but if you put it on YouTube, you can have no followers, and if it's good enough, it can actually become famous.
I wanted to use that as a springboard, which I still want to talk about, but something just came up in my head, of censorship. And I guess this is actually all goes together.
Yeah.
I know about censorship because I did a company called Vice. You know about censorship. We both know also about, what do they call it now? It's a new thing. When you lawyer somebody, lawfare. So
I haven't heard that. That's
lawfare.
Yeah.
And in political circles, they use it again. The right uses it to say, they're using lawfare against Trump to just keep suing.
Yeah.
And again, coming from a company like Vice, I started in the beginning of talking about lawsuits and censorship as, going hand in hand, but also advertising, because advertising became, because they own so much of TV time or whatever, they can just say, okay, we're not going to do this. And if they just ever just say, we're going to put pause, they never say we're going to stop, we're going to put pause on it, you're done, because that's how you make money as a media company. And I wanted to talk about, or I do want to talk about that. And maybe I'll talk about one of the most weird things in advertising, because I was trying to think, Super Bowl, like who won the Super Bowl ads, last year, and everyone claims, oh, we had the most viral, or we did the most blah, blah, blah. Because talking about Budweiser, we used to be their agency, Virtue, and we did during World Cup, we did this like World Cup hotel where all the soccer players came, and it was the most viral thing ever, and And so everyone talked about virality, and then other people will win a lion, or, and so everyone says they won. Okay. To me, Kanye won the Super Bowl because I watched the ad.
So what's up, guys? I spent like all the money for the commercial on these new teeth.
And I commented on it, and I was like, what the f is it even advertising? In my defense.
Yeah. And
then the next day, the people who I'd watched the Super Bowl with sent me the link. And I was like, what? So I was saying like how he had kind of won. And then when you see what he was doing, obviously for the worst thing ever.
Right.
And like such the worst thing ever that you're like, by the way, there's one thing on the site only.
Yeah.
Which is this, t-shirt of a swastika.
Yeah.
There's not like other shoes and stuff. There's just that.
Yeah.
And you're like crazy, bonkers, but it sort of falls into place with all the stuff that we're talking about of irreverent, and you want to talk about virality. And that was it.
That had to be like fully hijacked, where there had to be some other link that the NFL and everybody else saw that link, and then literally in the last second they flipped.
Had to be.
Yeah, like there's no way.
It had to be, because everything done on the Super Bowl is so, you want to talk about something that's so whitewashed and
completely,
and shined and fixed and cleaned, and it's crazy. That to me was bonkers. But still to me, okay, name another Super Bowl ad from last year, and those are the number one most expensive ads done.
Yeah, and I think they said, maybe it was Fast Company, they said the average brand that uses a celebrity in the Super Bowl, just the production cost is somewhere around $20 million. That's not even the media. It's just to make the thing that they're spending huge money. And I think that's another thing when it's less about Kanye and it's more about, hey, if you want to disrupt something, it's usually generally as simple as doing the opposite of what everyone else is doing. So if you know that everyone's doing these big, polished, high production value spots, you can disrupt by shooting a selfie video, because that's going to be so striking in that environment, regardless of if it's Kanye, if it's anybody. So yeah, I think there's always, I guess, tricks that are kind of tried and true of how you can.
Also, it's just crazy.
It's just crazy, yeah.
And because we know it's polished, because we know that subliminally they spend $20 million before they spend $50 million to book the spot.
Yeah.
Because we know that they're watching like how each, ad's going to perform, et cetera, it makes it all the more like, holy.
Yeah.
Like the Sex Pistols got banned and then went to number one, because they did God Save the Queen on the Queen's Jubilee.
Right.
Which is unheard of.
Yeah.
In England at the time.
Or like the famous, the parental advisory sticker that just made all those records.
NWA.
Yeah.
Bernie, what happened to Brand Bernie?
I feel like he was at least one that, authentic, I guess, meaning like you feel like what he's saying is him. Like I don't think anyone thinks that Bernie is one thing on television.
Yeah, that's right.
And then
he's a cranky old man. Which is funny because the SNL things, it's the two cranky old men who look exactly the same.
Yeah. And I think, at least he's saying things that feel like, oh, I don't normally hear politicians saying this. So people do, I think, trust Bernie because he was authentic.
Okay, yeah.
But I think, again, we live in a country where, at least in the modern day, politics is more or less to most people a television show.
Yeah.
And you want the good-looking actor, you want the entertaining actor, you want,
Well, it's the greatest reality show ever.
Yeah.
And Trump is a reality show genius.
Right.
That's
a good way to put it.
Well, I have a lot of theories about that. I want to, maybe we'll finish on that because it's very poetic. Yeah. But before I do, I wanted to get back to that of, okay, how do you feel, Mr. Punk Rocker / metalhead / skater, about the fact that advertising, I didn't really explain what I meant about advertising as a new censorship. Basically, if someone doesn't like you or what you're saying or whatever, it's every show, it's everything, it's every magazine, it's every newspaper, it's every TV show, a lot of movies, and they say, well, we don't like that. Then they take the advertising away, which means you can't make money, which means it goes away. It's a form of cancel culture that works 100% of the time. So that means that brands and or agencies and or media buyers become the modern day censors, right? They're the ones that tell you exactly how far you can go and not. Now, these are inherently conservative entities because they have to worry about brand safety. Like we did a big thing where we had to redo the brand safety lexicons for brands because like gay, black, you couldn't have your ads next to and we're like, excuse me, I think you can.
Yeah.
But it's really entrenched in the olden days and it's run by old people and it's this old way of thinking. Those are the people who's determining what kind of content you can see, unless it's viral on the internet, etc., which I think has gone the other way to show that it can, or fear of lawsuits. Because nobody wants to just do something and then go, okay, liquid death. Well, they said on the can, Your Honor, it's liquid. By the way, I'm going to go back because it's always Southern. They say liquid death on the can, Your Honor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I think we're shifting in media, and especially old media, legacy media, to this hyper-conservative, hyper-polished. When I say polished, I mean whitewashed, read over, edited, legal. Again, to go back to the Super Bowl, every single thing's been watched, rewatched, fed to legal, then rewatched again, edited down again, so that it's nothing. Our product might bring you happiness, maybe, and then somebody, well, it probably doesn't bring you happiness if it's at midnight at 4, and it doesn't bring you happiness if it rains. Doesn't bring, like everything's a disclaimer. And how do we feel about brands being the censors of all media? Go. Speaking as a brand manager.
I mean, it's certain brands, right? The brands with the very meaningful dollars that really can swing a show or media company or whatever. Yes, of course, they're going to, and those probably happen to be the brands that are the most widely distributed, that are, trying to play it the most safe because they're in maintain mode. They don't want to disrupt anything. Yeah. But I think it even goes as far as, like, for instance, like with Liquid Death, our censors are the buyers at retailers. And most retailers are very conservative. And a lot of the headquarters for the big grocery store chains are in the South, where it tends to be very, very religious. And we can't, if we do something that goes too far, they will pull us off the shelf because they want no risk either. We had a scenario with a huge retailer in Florida. They had one pastor complain about some social media video we did because we featured an adult film star in our video, and not even scandalous. Like, we intentionally said, no skin. We want her to look like a sweet soccer mom. Like, this is not about sex appeal. Like, that's part of the humor here was we had an adult film star deliver a sustainability message about plastic under the phrase, don't f*** the planet. Just the fact that we as a brand used an adult film star, regardless of how they were used, it got a pastor upset. He complained to the grocery store chain. One complaint created basically a board meeting, and they came to us, and like, we were at risk of getting pulled off the shelf in a huge chain just because of that. So then, I had to write a letter saying we promise we will not use adult film stars in our market, just to kind of like appease it. So even us, like, we have certain guardrails of what we could do even if we want to, because our business relies on retail. And it doesn't matter if most consumers don't matter. If the gatekeepers at any retailer, like to your point, the gatekeepers are the advertisers, like, if there anywhere there's a gatekeeper, like, they kind of hold the power of like what goes through.
Yeah, and they're little Napoleons who are going to use that power. Yeah, Vice did a advertisement for Porn Star or Fresh Drive, one of the two. And it had a porn star in it. And it got banned from our alma mater, from the college we went to. And then it got, so they banned Vice, which made headlines. Then the student newspaper ran the story about it. Then they got banned because they used the same image. Then the gay and lesbian newspaper got banned because they used the same image. Everyone got banned. That was just, to me, censorship. Once you start censoring things, then you get banned. You can censor me, which is something obviously wrong. But, they're going to use the same gun to censor your favorite things too. And does that happen in Canada? And that was the Sex Pistols method. We got banned, and we went, everyone, trying to get the thing, and then in America, they're like, we have the First Amendment. No, God damn. So we went down. That was our sort of entree into America. But, I said I wanted to end on a sort of poetic macro note. But basically, in this, we talked about a lot of things. So you talk about politics, we talked about brands, we talked about the similarity between brands and politics, and then humanity, now social media. Social media is interesting because it's now sort of informing a lot of public policy. It's become policy making. It's become a way of getting it out there. It's become, de facto advertising. It's the memes that we talk about. If you can create a meme, boy, oh boy, that's going to be successful. Where do you see this going with the advent of AI and quantum and all this stuff? Like, where do brands go, advertising, and the other stuff of, if you're a politician, you obviously have to rethink everything, because if you look at the last election, the Democrats lost on media and tech, or maybe the two together, and a bad debate, but the media and tech. Trump won on media and tech. Trump went on Rogan, TikTok Jack, social media, everywhere. Right. Fight. What happens going forward? Look into your crystal ball. You're in and doing this stuff all the time. Very easy question. What happens in media, politics, and culture going forward?
Well, the AI thing is interesting, but I think like most other technological advances, it really just becomes a tool. And everyone's so obsessed with the shiny new tool at first. It's like, oh, like the new Google VO3 thing is insane. And you're starting to see, okay, well, for certain people, you can strip production cost out of what you make. So, but you still, to make it actually entertaining, you have to be good at knowing how to entertain people. Like AI is not going to figure out what makes people laugh. It'll make the video, but like there's these guys on TikTok now doing like the gorilla things. Yeah. And it's like the video, it's like they're using AI, but the gorillas are like, all right, motherfuckers, we're going to drop some tabs.
Holy boys, we are tossed.
That's funny. Like AI wouldn't come up with that.
Yeah.
So I think it's like there's going to
now it will, because it learns. So because that thing's become popular, it will now say, oh, you should do something with
I don't know if it's that easy. It's like saying, well, because Dave Chappelle had a hit stand-up special, now anybody can go make a hit stand-up special because you watch that and you know what made people laugh. Like there's so much nuance.
But they're learning and learning. Like that's the whole thing about AI. The other thing about AI is, okay, so it's just this different skill set because you have to then just become a good prompter.
Right. But I think too that, there's a history in culture where when culture goes one way and it's heavy one way, there's people that then defact elsewhere, and then this becomes the interesting thing now.
Right.
Where it might be like, okay, in this AI world for a while now, there's going to be all this highly produced shit all over the place because anyone can make it. Yeah. And then to your point, it's the Kanye West selfie video or something that's like almost proving like humans made this. Vinyl, something where that all of a sudden becomes like a sore thumb in this overproduced universe. And then that it becomes successful. Then people are like, oh, I'll start doing that. Then they start going that way. I feel like it's always like everyone goes one way, someone goes the other, then it goes this way, then it goes that way. And people just kind of follow.
Yeah.
At least that's what I think.
No, that makes sense. Brands, there's gonna be a lot of new brands. There's gonna be a lot of old brands go away. I think like a lot of brands that were baby boomer dependent are just gone. They have no resonance with millennials or Gen Z. And so I think there's going to be a call, and I think there's going to be a call not just in brands, but in media. I mean, all the old media that just didn't adapt.
Well, I think the other interesting thing is the days of brands lasting 50 years are probably gone.
Right.
But what's different is because of the hyper digital instant scale world we live in, you can be a brand for 10 years, successful, and make just as much money as it took a Coca-Cola 50 years to make prior to digital social. Like you look at that, like that brand White Claw, that brand's only been a brand for like maybe 8 years, and they've made billions and billions and billions of dollars. That would have taken decades for other brands to make that. So it might be that the future of brands is they're more fleeting and they pop up and they make crazy amounts of money in that time, but then they ultimately just kind of go away and the next thing kind of comes or they transform into something.
Yeah, if you look at big brands, there aren't really brands anymore, they're banks. What they do is they invest and then they market it and
they buy other brands.
They buy other brands. They're like that. Then they wait and thing, and they buy that, and then they put it into their distribution, and they're just banks. And and when they're big, they're like not even banks. They're holding companies. And to get there was always sort of prohibitively expensive because you need billions upon hundreds of billions now. So it's impossible to do. So you were like, okay, well, unless you're Ford, you can't be, which are just banks. Car making companies are just banks. Then Tesla comes along and they're, now we're the most valuable company in the world. And then they'll just become a huge conglomerate that owns all, what they already do.
Right.
All kinds of things. It's interesting. I think there's going to be, just an explosion of creativity. And then, yeah, there'll be some sort of, okay, stickman kind of, go back to like, it's an interesting, definitely an interesting time to be alive. It's not going to be boring because all of this stuff is going to change. All of it. Marketing's going to change. Politics is going to change. The way brands think is going to change. It's all going to change. And we get to be here because it has gotten staid. It has gotten boring. It has gotten conservative. I don't think those are all great things. Conservative in the sense of.
Yeah. And I think too, it's that what's interesting is, now there could literally be all kinds of companies that become, $100, $200 million revenue companies that are like one guy. Because like with AI, like all that you can do. Now, I think the difference is, and at least the way I understand AI is kind of using like general consensus knowledge. It's like it's scanning all these different things and kind of pulling what it thinks is valuable. But that only gets you so far to solve so many problems. Like there is something about someone who has the dumbest idea that would never pass consensus, or that people aren't talking about how you get to those ideas. Like maybe that takes more of the human dumb, like you're trying to do something different.
Right.
And maybe that's what you lose. So you have these companies that certain industries can get to a certain level and it's just one guy and he's using AI. But is that, if you think of all the business problems that you have to solve in a successful, sustainable company, like what those are, and just weird serendipitous decisions that have to be made that turn out to be the right one, like AI is maybe not going to be the one to figure that out, right? Because it's pulling more general knowledge around things that is less.
Well, maybe they think that they're like, it's going to cure cancer, it's going to do this.
That's different, right? Like when you're talking about processing insane amounts of information, that it would take teams of people so much money and decades to do, that now all of a sudden you have a machine that can do the insane Rubik's Cube in a month. Yeah, that's where it's really bad. But and that's what I think. It's like the best thing it's doing is I think it's making mediocrity obsolete.
Right.
It's like anybody now can make a looking video that's reasonably entertaining with a couple key strokes.
Anything.
Right?
I mean, someone was explaining it to me. They were saying, look, you have a genius plus IQ as your assistant to do anything. By the way, you can be 8, you can be 13. What do you want it to do?
Yeah.
Anyway, pretty exciting stuff. Your exciting stuff. Liquid Death is exciting stuff. And let's keep the channels open, because when somebody obviously kills it like you do, I like to explore thoughts on other things, because branding, as I started from the beginning, unless you write your own narrative, someone's going to write it for you. And so write it through content. This is content. Your content is great. I like to be spicy on this podcast. And, you guys are sort of champions of free speech. So I'm just putting it out there that you should maybe sponsor the old Shane Smith Has Questions.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
See? America. There you go. I have it on. That's a legal contract, you see.
Yeah.
That's
legally, verbally binding.
Legally and verbally binding.
Yeah.
Beautiful. You're a beautiful baby boy. Thank you again for your time. And bango.